We finally have a real football game to recap. Round of applause. Football is finally here. I was at the Drake Stadium, 100th anniversary of Drake Stadium, was there for opening kickoff for Drake football under Joe Woodley. Great atmosphere. We'll dive all into that. But man, I'm always smiling. It's bigger this week because of just football being back. It was a fun experience, great game to cover, and I'm excited to recap with you with Drake and Upper Iowa. So a lot to get to today, but let's have some fun. Let's jump into it. Football is back. Yes, we had week 0, but week 1, that's where the magic happens. So thank you guys for joining in on the program. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. You can follow us on Twitter at Media Row Pod. If you haven't joined us before and this is your first time, welcome to the Media Row Podcast. I'm Justin Miller. Happy to have you guys here. These shows, as always, brought to you by Kelly's Little Nipper and Stevens Automotive and Sales. Kelly's Little Nipper, first off, you got to go there, 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. It's right down the street from Drake Stadium. But it's a historical site, great food, great drinks, great community, all that great stuff. But they did something really cool for opening night. They were out there feeding the football players. You can see it on their Facebook post. So they're always in with the local community, and that's why they're so fun to go and support. You should go there this weekend to watch the Iowa State game, Texas, Ohio State. Watch every game over there at Kelly's Little Nipper. Make sure when you do go there to use the keyword in Woodley, yes, as in Coach Woodley. Keyword is Woodley, and your first drink is on the house, courtesy of Media Row and, of course, Kelly's Little Nipper. So, 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines, Kelly's Little Nipper. When you go there, make sure to let them know that Media Row sent you. So, busy show today. We're going to recap last night's game for the Drake Bulldogs and then give our predictions for the 4 games I'm most excited for in week 1 for Saturday. But let's just jump right into it with the Drake home opener. Drake dominates Upper Iowa 41-7. And while there's a lot of stats I'll get to and a lot of things that impressed me, there were a couple of things that I want to get to that nitpicking. And then we have coaches' interviews at the end as well. But I just want to start with the atmosphere. So I had somebody call me earlier this week and say, hey, I'm going to the Drake game. What time do you usually show up? And I said, I try to get there like an hour before kickoff, 5:30, 5:45. And right away he's like, why you go so early? And I was like, I've always been that way. It's less stressful. I don't want to think about anything. Yeah, I don't have radio equipment to set up anymore. If I'm doing play-by-play or back when I did shows on the radio station, I don't have that to set up anymore. I just have a computer and my notepad, but I still just like being there and not having to stress about it. Well, joke's on them. Drake Bulldog fans showed up. Same with Upper Iowa fans showed up as well. Busy Drake Stadium. Busy parking lots where even I had to park a further way down from the stadium. And then there was a line from the main entrance all the way to the Knapp Center at Drake Stadium. And I get a text while I'm already up in the press box setting things up. I get a text from him. This line is insane. So kudos to Drake and Upper Iowa fans. First Division I college football game in the state of Iowa being played in Des Moines hometown team, taking on Upper Iowa, and the fans showed up on a Thursday night. And I can't think of a better way to spend your Thursday night, especially if you're a Drake fan. But if you're just a football fan, great night. Beautiful out, and the fans showed up. Atmosphere was incredible. So I just wanted to start with that and say kudos to the Drake fans and Upper Iowa fans for coming out supporting. 100th anniversary of Drake Stadium. The football players are wearing patches. There's the patch signature logo designed on the field as well. and then fireworks at the end of the night. But let's jump into the fireworks that happened on the field. So 41-7, Drake wins. Let's just start with Coach Joe Woodley. He gets his first victory as Drake's head coach, and his unbeaten regular season record continues to stay. Here's Coach Joe Woodley on the 41-7 victory.
It was a lot of anxious energy today. I've never been a huge fan of night games, just because you got to sit around and think about it all day. So, had a lot of that going on. I had a lot of confidence in what I thought we were going to be able to do, but you just never know how things are going to go. And of course, we hit the big play right away. Everything kind of get everybody going, and then a couple plays later, we throw the interception. It's just things like that, but I think it was a testament to our guys. We played really, really good complementary football today, and defense comes out, gets a 3 and out, and then we kind of got rolling on both sides of the football for a majority of the first half. It was pretty lopsided, and felt like we were heading in a good direction, and then felt great at halftime. I think they had 1 rushing yard at halftime, and anytime you're doing that, you're probably going to have a shot to kind of be in control of things. And we were, I thought, efficiently running the football. And then, and then second half, they probably scored a little too quickly for my liking. It was, if they score, that's a pretty good team. I think they'll win a bunch of football games, and but for them to score, and I think it was under 3 minutes, and now all of a sudden it's 24-7. That's a whole different feel. And but again, getting back to the complimentary piece, our offense gets the ball, goes 83 yards, scores a couple of big plays, and then we got back up 24 about midway through the third quarter. I'm like, okay, I've been here before. I know how to choke this clock out, and that's essentially what we did, and still somewhat being aggressive. And we got some takeaways in the second half, and that was a challenge to the guys at halftime. And we were able to get one on the pick, or I think we had ended up with 2 picks, and then they fumbled the punt return or whatever. So I think we might have ended up +1 in the turnovers, if I remember correctly. But all in all, yeah, I feel a lot better now. Just to kind of get that first one under the belt, and going into a bye week just makes it that much sweeter.
So let's jump into the game right away. And I want to begin with what impressed me last night by the Drake Bulldogs. And you're going to expect from every team in their home opener, their season opener, for there to be a little bit of mistakes. But it's the way a team responds and bounces back that can really set the tone for the season moving forward. And that's what Drake did last night. And that's what first and foremost impressed me, is Drake's ability to continue to bounce back when little things wouldn't go their way. And it was noticeable on the very first drive. Very first play of the game, Chase Spellman hooks up with Jackson Voth for a 30-plus yard completion. Adrenaline's high. People are all hyped. Crowd's on their feet. And a few plays later, Chase Spellman throws an interception. And there's your first mistake. And again, you're going to expect those when you have a team that is with a brand new head coach, brand new offensive coordinator, brand new defensive coordinator, lost 24 fifth-year seniors. So a lot of that veteranship is gone. But now Drake needs to bounce back. And that's exactly what they did. And it starts with the leadership and the mentality from the man under center, Chase Spellman. Chase Spellman, after the interception on the first drive, led Drake to 6 scoring drives on their next 7. Incredible poise by a sophomore quarterback in a brand new system. Chase Spellman was incredible last night. Only 2 incompletions, 14 of 16 passing, 233 yards in total, second most by a starting quarterback on an opening day from Drake since 2021. He had 2 touchdowns passing, 2 touchdowns rushing, and the 1 interception. Spellman was incredible. like the team, I just love his ability of that. Forget what happened next, move on. His mentality was really apparent early on. After that interception, he went straight to the iPad, went straight to the headset, and went on to have one heck of a performance for the season opening night. Really impressed me with his deep ball too. His accuracy and deep ball were on point. 3 of 3 from passes of 15 yards or more. 5 of 5 from passes of 5 yards to 14 yards. And plus, having a dual threat quarterback never hurt nobody. Spellman was absolutely incredible. But I'm talking about the whole team here. Their ability to move on and bounce back and respond. It was really apparent with Spellman since he was the one who threw the interception. But the whole team had that fire. The whole team had that mentality show out on Thursday night. When Spellman left the game in the fourth quarter, which we'll get to, a little update on his injury, but he left the fourth quarter with about 13 minutes to go. They bring in their senior backup quarterback in Xavier Washington, and he leads a drive, 6 plays, 75 yards, under 3 minutes, and scores. When the Upper Iowa Peacocks kick off the third quarter, get the ball, and score in under 3 minutes on a 5-play, 75-yard drive, what does the defense do? What does the offense do? They go back out there and they score. The defense comes back and does the little things right and hold Upper Iowa to not a single point after that. It was just their ability to bounce back that really impressed me. Also, there's a clear sophomore to sophomore connection between Spellman and Hank Foley. Hank Foley, 5 receptions on 6 targets, which Xavier Washington overshot him. I don't think that should hurt him, but 5 receptions on 6 targets, 127 yards receiving, and 2 touchdowns. This is from a freshman who, yes, all academic PFL member, really important. But as a freshman, only had 1 reception for 7 yards and goes out there on opening night and plays like a 5th-year senior. And his athleticism was incredible. Spellman and Washington had multiple throws that were real high and a little behind. And Hank Foley, with his size and athleticism, made it look like nothing. Just bent over a little, but got real high up in the air and hauled in the reception. He was real impressive. And then, like you hear from coaches all the time, is you got to win the little things. And that's what Drake did on Thursday night as well in their 41-7 victory. They won all the little things. The turnover battle, they won 3-1. First down and third down, Drake, 25 total first downs, Upper Iowa 12. On third down, 10 of 16. And for Upper Iowa, 4 for 11. And one thing that I wanted to point out, and it's going to bring up the third sophomore that had a really, really great start to 2025, is just the field position. You always hear you got to win the field position battle as well. And while Drake, of course, led with 473 total yards and Upper Iowa only had 217, the field position was huge and crucial, especially early on when Drake had that interception. For sophomore Kansas State transfer, Jackson Voth, he made those 2 huge receptions of 30-plus yards at first play and then late in the fourth quarter. But it was really his ability to get Drake into striking distance quickly on the punt return team. He was out there on the punt return, had 29 return yards, And with his athleticism and speed and his change of direction, that was the part too that I was noticing. And also his patience. Sometimes those guys get the ball and just quickly want to go right up the middle. He had patience, and then that change of direction didn't hurt either. But with his ability at the punt return team, he got Drake to average starting their drives at their own 34-yard line. That's huge. That's huge. And now when Drake is going to be going up against tougher opponents, little things like that are going to be crucial. So Drake wins 41-7. I brought up how Spellman was really impressive. Did also bring up his injury. He got taken out of the game early in the fourth quarter with about 13 minutes to go. And here's Coach Woodley, kind of just on the injuries, because we also need to mention, also going down early on, was senior defensive lineman Colin Trimp, who couldn't put any pressure on his right leg. It was like the third play of the game for Upper Iowa, and got taken to the medical table, sat there for a while, players were coming up, and then he was in street clothes for the rest of the night. So here's Coach Woodley on the injuries, mostly with his starting quarterback in Chase Spellman.
Don't know anything. I don't think it's real serious. Again, the beauty of having a bye week gives us a little more time to work through all that. I'll probably know a little bit more tomorrow, but don't really have much to comment on that, from what I know at this point.
I want to end now with just the few, I don't want to say concerns, because when you win 41-7, it's more nitpicking, I believe, than concerns, because we still don't know everything about this team. Upper Iowa is a talented team, but you're going to learn a lot more about this team against South Dakota and South Dakota State coming up. But early on, a lot of close calls with fumbles. And I think that's just first game jitters, first real action back for these running backs. And again, like we mentioned, there's going to be those little mistakes. You're going to have those little mistakes. The only thing that is close to that concern is the soft spot on the defense, and they had 2 interceptions, so they're not even soft, but beatable, is the safety position and the corners. Few penalties. A few times they just looked like they got burnt. A few times they looked like they just weren't turning their heads to look towards the ball. That was the only part I was noticing throughout the game where I'm making notes going, let's see how they improve upon this in week 2. Let's see how they improve upon it on week 3. But really, besides that, there's not a lot to complain about on a 41-7 victory.
I was pretty impressed with, there was a couple things that I didn't love, but I thought we played fairly clean. We tackled well. I thought, again, without looking at the video, I thought we efficiently ran the football, and of course that's the objective most of the time with a lot of coaches. You want to efficiently run the ball, and I thought we did at times. There were times, there was a little more to be desired, but we got at some 3rd and shorts, we got some fourth and shorts, and we were able to continuously move the sticks and put ourselves in a better spot to score. And again, defense, probably with the exception of 1.5 drives, we intercepted them on the other one. Kind of, I hate saying bailed us out, because that's part of football. We get a hand on it. Garrison, I think it was Garrison Cotty I think it was him that got the pick. But opportunistic and like I said, complimentary. It was just all in all, a pretty solid first game. Pretty happy with it, and but certainly a lot to improve upon.
Did all the little things right. You're really impressed with how your starting sophomore quarterback played, who's a transfer, who didn't even get to practice with the team in the summer. But now you're going to learn a lot about this team in the next few weeks. A bye week, which is crucial for those injuries. Next two games on September 13th. They take on the third-ranked South Dakota State Jackrabbits at South Dakota State. And then they stay in South Dakota and play fifth-ranked South Dakota on September 20th. So we're going to learn a lot about this Drake team in the next coming weeks. But Drake wins on Thursday night, the only night home game Drake has all season long, 41-7 over Upper Iowa. Huge win for Coach Joe Woodley, all of his coordinators, all the players, the fans. Feels good to start 1-0 no matter who you are. And that's always the goal. So Drake will take on South Dakota State in 2 weeks when they hit the gridiron back. And we will have, of course, full recap on those games coming up, as we will all season long. Now, let's jump into this weekend, because this weekend's going to be real fun. A lot of action happening this weekend. I can't wait. Football is back. Full weekend of just sitting around doing nothing except watching TV. We got our roast beef sliders all planned out. We got our chips and dip planned out. We got our drinks all settled. Dessert, we're ready. We are ready. And if you guys saw, I got my helmets all organized too. So we're good. But let's get into our predictions, because this weekend's going to be fun. Let's start with Iowa State and South Dakota. Iowa State coming off of a huge victory against Kansas State and Farmageddon in Dublin, week 0. A game that, hand up accountability, I had Iowa State losing. There was too many question marks for me. I was worried about how would they play without their 1,000-yard receivers. I was worried about the way Kansas State's defense of line would attack Iowa State's dual threats of running backs. I was wrong. And I don't think I'm going to be wrong on this one. And I'm going to take Iowa State. I learned my lesson. That being said, 16.5 for the Iowa State Cyclones. I kind of like it to be closer. Because usually, if your quarterback isn't named Rocco Beck, I'm kind of sitting there going, this is a perfect trap game. You're at home, going up against South Dakota, smacked in between having to come back from Dublin after an emotional top 25 victory over a conference rival. And then next week, you play your in-state rival in Iowa. Isn't that just a potion of trap game right there? Am I wrong? But again, I have confidence in Rocco Beck. I have confidence in Matt Campbell. When you talk to Rocco Beck, when you talk to Matt Campbell, you do get that sense of, oh, it's not BS when you talk about we don't let the outside noise affect us. That's how I always felt last year, for the last year and a half, when I was interviewing Matt Campbell, got to meet Rocco Beck. I always got that sense of, oh, it's not just a gag. This is true. This is how you guys truly prepare for every game. And Rocco, I mean, his first time coming in as a starter, everybody in the room right away understood what was going on. That dude just pours confidence. And Cyclone fans, you got through, I think, one of the toughest games to have to start a season with. And now, South Dakota is a really good team, top 5 in FCS. They're not going to just roll over. So I think it's going to be closer than 16.5. But, I mean, it could be a 14-point victory at that point. And that's still a really strong win for Iowa State. So I like Iowa State. I learned my lesson after picking against them against Kansas State a week ago. So give me Iowa State. We're 0-1 on the season. We got to get a win. We let's hope Iowa State or maybe Iowa here can help me out. Moving on, got Iowa and Albany. I was on the ESPN app when I was writing these out. I didn't see a number for Iowa, but whatever it is, I'm going to sit here and be like, I wouldn't be shocked if it was closer. I think Iowa wins. They're at home. It's Kinnick. I don't think Gronowski is going to throw for 300 yards. But if you're an Iowa fan, you just need 150, it feels like, to win and to be better than any offense you've had since 2018, it feels like, or 2019. But against Albany, I'm also basing this off of I've been to Albany once, and it sucked. So give me the Hawks. And hopefully those are two local victories for the Hawkeyes and the Cyclones, setting up a really exciting Cy-Hawk matchup next week where you have a 2-0 Cyclone team at home against a 1-0 Hawkeye team where Iowa State's going to be, I think, easily could be in the top 15 after that victory against Kansas State. We'll see where they put them. But you have Iowa State, clearly a top 25 team at 2-0, at home against an Iowa team who's 1-0, and you have a great Cy-Hawk rivalry. You also have Iowa State trying to win their first game in the Cy-Hawk rivalry at home since that triple overtime thriller in Ames in 2011. So a lot of storylines there, and it also goes back to my point of I don't believe Beck or Matt Campbell are going to do this, but man, it's a recipe for a look past, and it's a recipe for a trap game. Moving on to the night game, top 10 matchup. LSU at Clemson, who's ranked 4.5 to the Tigers right now. And Clemson, here's my thing. I've never been big on Brian Kelly. Never have when he was at Notre Dame. I think him leaving Notre Dame and saying you can't win at Notre Dame national titles because of how you recruit. I think it didn't sound, how some people took it of, man, he's really putting down Notre Dame. I think it more sounds like that's your job. That's what you should be doing. And what has he done since? Nothing. Nothing at LSU. And what has Notre Dame done? Oh, they were the runners-up a year ago. So I'm not big on Brian Kelly whatsoever. LSU has lost 5 straight opening games. I think it's 6 straight. I'm on the Klubnik fan club. Every time I pop on ESPN or the Joel Klatt show, everybody's telling me how great this guy is. You hear him in interviews, though, and very similar to Rocco, you kind of sit there and you go, oh, I get it. He does have an aura about him. So give me Klubnik, give me Clemson at home. It would be interesting. A lot of people kind of have Clemson as like a dark horse to win the national title. And it's hard to say dark horse when they're a top 4 team. But a team where just in their style of Dabo not going into the transfer portal, not wanting to get into the new era of college football is really interesting to me. And I think is a really good storyline moving forward in this season. Give me Clemson. I would take over the 4.5. I know the last 2 picks I kind of had closer games than what was projected, but I think Clemson wins by a touchdown or more against LSU. Could be a fun game, though. Could still be high scoring. All right, now the big one. The biggest game to kick off a college football season that we have ever seen. There's not been a regular season game with more hype than this one. 11 o'clock, number 1 Texas, and number 3 Ohio State. What a game. What a way to kickstart your weekend and kickstart the season. Kudos to college football. And so many storylines. Arch Manning, is he going to be good? Is he going to live up to the name on the back? Is he going to live up to the Heisman hype? And then you move over to Ohio State, reigning national champs, top 3 team. But brand new quarterback, brand new offensive coordinator, brand new defensive coordinator. These two teams combined lost to the NFL draft 24 players. Yet, Texas is expected to, right now, as the number 1 team, win the national title. And Ohio State, as the reigning national champs, are supposed to be right there with them. There's so many question marks with both teams. These teams match up, I think, very evenly to young quarterbacks. Arch Manning, again, who we haven't seen really do anything, but we've heard is the greatest quarterback and is going to break all these records. And then you have Julian Sayin, who's starting for Ohio State, who is the top freshman in his class and won a really tough quarterback battle with Ohio State. Then you look at Ohio State, they lost 2 great running backs. They lost a really good receiver in Ibuka. And they're going up against what could be the best defense in the country with Texas. This is going to be an incredible game. And I've gone back and forth on these two teams. I love Texas's defense. I think they're going to be a smash-mouth team. Now, Ohio State, they arguably have the best defender, though, in the country, in Caleb Downs. And then, man, I don't know what to get out of Arch Manning, but if this game was in Texas, I'm feeling a lot more confident with Texas. And I think the numbers show when Ohio State's projected to win this game at -1.5. That's just home field advantage right there, it feels like. And I did think about, using that as my cop-out, as I'm picking Ohio State because it's at the Horseshoe, which is partially true. But here's the thing. I think Ohio State wins this game because they have the best player in the country. And I know I just mentioned Caleb Downs as possibly the best defender in the country, but there's no possibility about this. The best player in the country is Jeremiah Smith. And Ohio State, you always hear, man, how are they going to replenish their wide receiver group? We always hear that. Well, how'd they do it when they had Marvin Harrison, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson? Oh, you got Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and Ibuka. And they're going to just continue to do that. They got a guy from Purdue who put up great numbers at a really bad team as a tight end. He's coming over to Ohio State. You have Jeremiah Smith. Carnell Tate, who was the forgotten man a year ago, is going to be easily QB or wide receiver too. And I think is going to get plenty of options if Texas continues to focus on Jeremiah Smith like they did in the semifinals a year ago. I just think games at the Horseshoe, give me the quarterback who has the best player in the country in Jeremiah Smith, and that's Ohio State. I like Ohio State to win this game. It's going to be low scoring. It's going to be a defensive battle. Both quarterbacks, it's going to be a lot of which one makes the first mistake, and it will be a lot of fun. But give me Ohio State taking down the number 1 team in the country to start the year. Iowa State's taken down South Dakota. Iowa's taken down Albany. Clemson over LSU. And the Buckeyes over the Longhorns. I am so giddy. I can't wait. I've been waiting to preview and recap games all summer long. If you were with us all summer long through all the different interviews, I really appreciate it. The numbers were great. And that was incredible to see because it was something I was kind of worried about. Where I'm sitting there going, man, we're getting to the quote-unquote slower part of the season. We saw numbers drop at the radio station during this time. But the numbers got better. They just continue to grow, and it's all because of you guys, and I really appreciate it. So continue to follow us on social media, wherever that is. Let us be a part of your daily life. I really appreciate you guys being a part of mine. So let's have some fun this football season. And then we'll blink and it'll be crossover time where we got basketball and football. And it's just 30 minutes of Media Row talking nothing but ball. And that's what we love. So before we wrap up today, a huge shout out to our sponsor at Stevens Automotive and Sales, 5320 Northwest Beaver Drive in Johnston, Iowa. Stevens Automotive, 35 years of family owned and operated. Great communication with all their customers. There's no BS involved, and they're just the best place to go, plain and simple. If you need an oil change, go to Stevens Automotive. If you need just any sort of car repair, go to Stevens Automotive. Let's say you have a young kid in the family getting ready to get out on the road. Go to Stevens Automotive. That's what my family did, and they were fantastic because any questions we had, they were right there with us, ready to go, and just perfect. Perfect where you don't feel intimidated. You don't feel like you're going to get screwed over as a young driver. They are perfect to go to, and I'm so happy they're a part of this show, and I want you guys to go be a part of their work environment over there at Stevens Automotive and Sales, 5320 Northwest Beaver Drive in Johnston, Iowa. 35 years of family owned and operated. When you go there, make sure to let them know that Media Row sent you. Thank you guys again so much for being a part of this show. Thank you to Coach Joe Woodley for the post-game interviews. We will be doing those throughout the season as well for every home game. Huge thank you again to Woodley for just Wednesday as well. I know he had a lot of pressure and a lot of game film to look at and preparation for Thursday, and he was able to join us. We're going to be doing that with him every game week. Next week, real busy. Cy-Hawk week. Going to be a lot of Cy-Hawk discussion. We'll recap, of course, everything that we've seen over this weekend on Monday because although it's Labor Day, I always thought it was dumb if you took a day off in sports conversation after the first weekend of college football. Like, just unplug the mic at that point. So we're not taking a day off Monday. Despite it being Labor Day, you can still listen to us on your day off, recapping everything from this weekend. And then we are in it for week 2 with Cy-Hawk and start of the NFL season as well. Hope you guys have a great, safe, and fun college football weekend. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, all that good stuff. And we will see you on Monday for a brand new edition of the Media Row podcast.